So welcome everyone to our 23rd webinar here at InterVenture. People are slowly joining in, so I'm just going to get started real quick and then I'll give the mic to Stevan. My name is Ivana. I'm an account manager here at InterVenture. And as I said, with us is today our dear colleague, Stevan, senior Android developer here at InterVenture. So welcome, Stevan. Big smiles. We like big smiles. Thank you. Just kidding. But he will be speaking about Jetpack Compose. He will cover the basics. He will also give some practical examples. And then at the end, we'll also have a Q&A. But please feel free also to write something in the chat while he's giving his presentation, because we'll look into it every once in a while. I'll also just take a quick intro to give you some short information on InterVenture for all of you who are new here or maybe don't know about InterVenture. But we are a Swiss-Serbian software development company specializing in building and operating fully dedicated all-star engineering teams with members such as Stevan. And together with our partners, we develop amazing software solutions in a variety of industry, covering a variety of tech stack. And that's for almost now, well, over a decade. So it's going quite well. Besides that, we also offer a fast and flexible project-based collaboration designed to address more temporary engineering work needs and unexpected like peaks, or if you need expertise in a specific field, for example. If you have any questions regarding our business line, please feel free to write me. You should have my contacts in the registration email you have received. Other than that, as I said, this video will be recorded and on YouTube, so you can also try to get in contact there. Without further ado, I really don't want to make take too much time of this meeting and also give the mic to Stevan, because he just prepared a very great presentation. And Stevan, you can, take over and share your presentation. And once again, thank you so much for joining and sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the introduction and warm welcome from my side as well. For everyone, thank you for joining the talk. I hope it will be insightful.
Yes.
So yeah, let me share the screen. Just the second. Okay. And yeah, you should be able to see it.
Yes.
So yeah, well, once again, welcome to the talk. Today, we'll try to explain how I personally dived into Jetpack Compose and how we as a team embrace this toolkit in our project. Besides that, I'll demonstrate migration from XML layout to Compose on one of the screens in the showcase project. And after the showcase, we'll try to summarize all the presented points and key takeaways, and I'll leave some space for your thoughts and discussion afterwards. So first things first, what's Jetpack Compose? As stated here, it's declarative UI toolkit, which means that it renders UI without imperatively mutating views. And as you will see later on, Compose functions only emit UI. They don't return anything because they describe the desired state instead of constructing UI widgets, which is the case in view-based system. So here are the main benefits. Why should you adopt Compose, advertised by Google? So we will go through them and try to explain each in depth with some examples from the code. So the first benefit is that actually they say that with the Jetpack Compose, you will need less code to achieve the same result you would with view system. And here are the impressions from some of the companies which already integrated Compose in their projects. And as you can see here, they state that styling is much easier. So they achieved it with a 10 times smaller code base. Also significant reduction with screens with lists included. And as we know, most of the screens on mobile phones are using lists to show the data. And lastly, writing animations, it is much easier with Jetpack Compose. And here is the example from one of my showcase projects. Here you can see that with these 20 lines of code on the left side. We covered whole screen with all the states and presentation logic. So as you can see here, we have loading, success, and error state with button which triggers some action. Next benefit is that Jetpack Compose is more intuitive than a view-based system. How so? Since it's a declarative API, that means that you only have to describe your UI. And for example, theming is with Compose done within a single Kotlin file, what otherwise lays across multiple XML files, as you already know. And other point is that since composable components are stateless, they're easy to use and maintain and extend or customize. So I'll show you again the example from my project. Here you can see on the left side how typography is defined for the Jetpack Compose theme on. So basically it's a Kotlin file. It's written in a Kotlin file. This is only one property. Everything is written in Kotlin. So I would state that it's much more readable than XML files previously used. On the right side, you can see how easily you can define shapes, which was not that easy in the view-based system. And lastly, here you can see how I define the custom theme. And also you can see how here we can include some custom logic or business logic for determining if we want to use, for example, dynamic colors, or which theme we want to use, or yeah, whatever else. Yeah, the next benefit is that Compose will accelerate your development. Again, how you can achieve that? You will iterate and ship faster. And how is that possible? Well, since Jetpack Compose is interoperable, you can start writing composables right away. And besides that, you have live previews and live edit within the Jetpack Compose toolkit. And as it's shown, live previews are a big time savior. So you can play animations, you can see layout in different states for different locales in different screen sizes. And since recently they introduced also live edit as a feature, which means that you can actually change the layout while you are actively test your application. And yeah, it looks awesome to update composables on devices in real time. Here you can see the example of defined previews. So here for the same screen, we have 3 different previews for 3 different states. And also, as you can see here, different preview settings were used. So we defined a specific device we wanted to use. We defined some Boolean flags we wanted to show with this preview. So for example, we wanted to show the background. Here we wanted to show the system UIs. You can also define a locale, for example. I'll show you that later. And the last benefit they stated is that Jetpack Compose toolkit is powerful. What that means, actually, it means that it provides you direct access to Android platform APIs, such as material design, dark theme support, and as we already stated, writing animations is much easier. And besides that, it provides different tools to boost your development, such as Relay. Relay is a tool with which you can export designs directly from Figma as composable components and incorporate them into your project. So here you can see one composable function which was generated from Relay, exported from Figma, and imported directly into Android Studio. So hopefully in future it will be much easier to work with designers which are using Figma. So yeah, since we covered all the pros, let's see what are the drawbacks. Here I stated major drawbacks of the composable toolkit. So the first one is that not all UI components are still available, unfortunately, which sometimes can lead to difficulties during the migration. But luckily there is a accompanist repository which represents group of libraries that aim to supplement Jetpack Compose with features that are not yet available. So yeah, I invite you to check out that repository. It saved us a couple of times. And the second point is that at the moment you integrate Jetpack composable dependencies in your project, it can affect the build APK and runtime performances. How so? Because as you already know, whenever you include some dependency in your project, it will, of course, increase your APK size. But what's the catch there? Once you fully migrated or you migrate the majority of your project, everything will come on the right place, as you can see on this diagram. So after full migration, actually your runtime performance will increase, your APK size will reduce, and as well as your build time. So now that we listed all the pros and cons of Jetpack Compose over the Vue system, let's say that we decided to migrate. How should we do it? And what are the important things to have in mind? So I would say the most important thing is interoperability. So as we all know, the chances that we are going to work on a greenfield project with Compose-only screens are close to zero. So yeah, we will probably have to have both systems in our app. And what's important is that newly introduced Compose components can coexist with already existing views. And how we can achieve that? So this interoperability goes both ways. So you can use Compose in views and vice versa. You can use views in Compose. And let me show you both approaches. So how to use Compose in views? Yeah, there are two approaches. The first approach is that if your layout is completely defined in Compose function, then all you have to do is to invoke setContent method and pass your composable. That's the screenshot on the left side. And if you want to incorporate Compose component in existing view layout, you just have to use Compose view, which is actually regular Android view. That's the screenshot on the right side. And of course, afterwards, you call again setContent view on this Compose view from your activity. And the vice versa approach, using views in Compose, is particularly useful if you want to use UI elements that are not yet available in Compose, like, for example, horizontal pager or add view. And another use case for this would be, for example, if you want to reuse custom view you already implemented. So for this use case, you use Android view, as you see on this screenshot, and you provide your view inside of the factory block. And yeah, here, just remember to use the main principle: data flows down and events flow up. And yeah, that should be everything from the theoretical side. So now it's time to dive into the code, hopefully funnier part of the presentation. Let me share the project. So I hope you can see my Android Studio.
Yes, you can see.
Project. Yeah, this is the project we will be working on. Let me quickly show you around. So this is some showcase project I did for like learning purposes 3 years ago. So it's written in view-based system. It has this main screen where like some clubs from the Premier League are shown. And here you can choose the club, you can compare the players, And also here is the settings screen where you can basically change the language. Here there are two supported locales, English and Serbian. And once you change locale, it's applied to whole app. So we will migrate the settings screen since that's the simplest screen in the app. And I don't want to take you much time. So let's do this screen. And yeah, the first things first, what you have to do is, of course, to include the dependencies. I already did that here. So you have to set the build features to use Compose. You have to add Compose options for Kotlin compiler. And here are all the dependencies we are going to use. And as you can see here, Jetpack Compose introduced this bill of materials, so it's easy to add individual dependencies. You don't have to specify all the versions. You just add a dependency and a bill of material will handle the versions for you. So once you did that and synced your project, you can start coding. So what we have to do here is to change. Yeah, let me show you the layout. So as you saw in the app, this is the layout. So as you can see here, it's written in XML at the moment. Here we have one constraint layout where this row is. Here we have the title and the value for the specified language, and this is the separator. So we will migrate this layout into Compose. So yeah, the first thing we have to do is change this from inflating the XML to create a Compose function. So as we said, here we will use Compose view. We have to provide a context as for any other view. And here basically we have to provide our composable. We don't have that yet, so let's create one. Let's call it settings screen. It's a file. Yeah, it can be added. So composable settings screen. And yeah, what we want here, let's add a scaffold. Scaffold is composable component which will add the basic structure to our screen. And inside of it, what we'll need is firstly column, right? Because we have two horizontal items and one below them. That's divider. And okay, so yeah, to stop these red lines appearing, we have to specify the padding here for the scaffold, and we will use modifier here and add this inner padding. Okay, now we don't have the errors. And what are we going to do here is let's benefit from our composable by showing the preview screen, settings screen preview, where we will show our settings screen. Right now, nothing will be shown, but let's build a project just to verify that. Okay, there is a plain preview. So let's add some things. As we said, here we need firstly a row. This row will contain two text items. The first one is for the title. So let's create that one. Okay. Let's import the resources, and here is the language string. So yeah, now you can see on the right side that it already renders the preview. We can see our label, and here we can add some styling, for example. And now you will see how easy it is to actually add add styling. And yeah, let's add here some padding as well. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I wanted to add named parameter padding, and here let's fetch dimension. Yeah, settings padding should be good. So yeah, we said we need this as a label, and we need another one for the value. And how we can have the value. So we have to specify it here, language. And now let's change this. Okay, the string resource will come from the language title ID. And now you will see that our preview broke because it doesn't have all the parameters. So let's define that. And now should be good. Yeah. And again, as you can see, it's not the same as it's on the app design. So what we have to do here is to add spacer with some weight. I hope you're familiar with this because this is the same principle from the view-based system as well. So, okay, now we have this row, and as we said, we need the divider as well. That's why we added the column at the first place. And yeah, this is how easy it is to add the divider with Jetpack Compose. We already have the predefined component. We will just add the color, divider color, and that's it. So yeah, we have the basic UI. So let's see how that looks inside of the app. Right now it's called only from the preview, but let's continue modifying this. So now that we have our composable, let's call it, and language will be provided from view model. And let's declare it here. Language, we will use delegate, settings, view model, language. And since the language is live data, as you can see here, we will use composable method for observing live data, observe as state. And let's pass this in. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what's the case here. Let's delete this. We don't need this anymore. We don't need this as well. Return compose view. Okay, give me a second. Yeah, sorry, didn't call set content. My mistake. So as I said, here we need set content. And yeah, so here when we observe this as a live data, here the language is provided as optional, but since we know it's not going to be optional, we can unwrap it and use it like that. And yeah, that should be it. So let's try it now with the composable. Okay, it builds, that's a good sign. And if we go to settings, yeah, you can see that we have the layout, but of course it doesn't do anything yet. So the next thing we have to do is to create a dialog and add a behavior. So let's go back to our composable. Let's move this. And as we said, what we have to do now is to create new composable. Language is dialog. This one can be private actually. And what we need here is dialog. Yeah, as you can see here, we need on dismiss request, so we will provide that as a parameter. On dismiss request, dismiss request. Okay, and inside of this dialog, let's add surface. That will again add the basic structure for the background, and in this surface we will need actually a column inside of which we will show the title and the options. So for the title, again, we can use some text component. Here we will say from the resource choose language, and yeah, let's add a preview for that. Language is dialog preview, and let's show languages dialog with some callback. So yeah, here you can see, and yeah, let's add some options here. So show background, true. And now you can see how it will look like. So we added a surface for the background, and currently we have only the title. I'll remove the padding. Yeah, I'll remove the padding here. And what we need below the title are the actual options. So for the options, I'll language. I need values from there. So for each value, I'll create an option. And let's call it language radio button. And yeah, generate a composable function. Now we have this composable function. So what we need here is a row. And inside of this row, we will have actual radio button. And for this radio button, we have to state when it's selected and to add on click listener. So let's do that. Let's provide is selected property. And let's add on language selected. Okay, now we can say here is selected. Yes, and on click we will provide on language selected. And what we need here as well, so let's scroll. What we need here as well is the title. So again, we can use some text component. Yeah, and here again, ID will be from the, yeah, we have to provide the language here. So language, so that we can actually read the title. And that should be it. So let's see now. Again, the preview is broken because we didn't provide all the parameters for the languages dialog. Here we need a language. So again, from the above, we will provide the currently selected language. And let's see what we need here is selected. Is selected will be true if currently selected language is equal to the one we are currently constructing this composable for. Yep, language will be the current one. We provide the composable for, and what we need here is again this function, but here we will need to add the language. And on language selected will be this. Yep, on language. Yep, let's short. Okay, yeah, and here we will also have to call on dismiss request. So let's use it like this and call on dismiss request, invoke as well. And here we will have to pass the current language. Okay, hopefully now, yeah, now we should render this, but let's provide all the properties. That's it. That's another. So yeah, now you can see poorly designed, but still a dialogue. Let's design it a bit. So here, let's add the fill max width modifier. Okay, already better. And let's center it vertically. So vertical alignment, center vertically. So yeah, already looking a bit better. So format the code. And what we here still need is the flag when we actually want to show this dialog. So how are we going to do that? Sorry, actual is always okay. That's for now. We're okay with that. So as I said, here we will need the property when to decide when to show the dialog or not. So is dialog shown? And for that, we will use the remember function from compose. This function will basically remember the value across the compositions. And here we will use immutable state, and this will be just a flag. And we will use actually this flag to decide if we want to show the dialog or not. So here we'll say if is dialog shown, we have to unwrap it. And if it's shown, we will show the dialog, languages dialog for the current selected language. On dismiss request, we'll just set this value to false. So hide the dialog, and on language selected, we will pass from the activity, and here we will just propagate it. Okay, so now we have the condition when we are going to show the dialog, but we need the action still, how we can do that. So here, this is the row which actually represents our option. And here we can add a clickable modifier where we can just specify that is dialog shown value will be set to true. And that's it. Again, our preview is broken because here we miss the second parameter, but now everything should be up to date as shown. And let's go back to the activity or fragment in this case. And here we have to define the behavior, and the behavior here will be to set this newly chosen language. Set language, here let's say selected language, and let's set it here. And what we also need to do is we have to recreate our activity in order for new configuration to be applied. So let's do that. Activity recreate, and since this can be optional, we have to unwrap it. So let's see if this works. Even if you have some drum rolls, you can play it now. So yeah.
I didn't come prepared. I'm sorry. I do the nails. I have nails.
No worries, no worries. So yeah, here you can see again that the layout is showing this option. If we click on the option, you can see that dialog is shown, dismiss is working properly. And again, the current language is selected properly. So we are currently on Serbian language, if you didn't recognize it, of course. And let's try to switch it. and yes, it works. So the action is also propagated correctly, and this function is invoked after we have chosen the language. Again, you can see that that works for all the screens in the app. Let me go back to the settings screen, composable. So as we saw here, we have everything in preview, and I promised you that I'll show you some other options. So as I said, you can specify the locale here. This is the code for Serbian language. So yeah, you can see that we can also see the preview in Serbian language as well. So yeah, that's basically it. I can also walk you through the project if there are any preference, but basically this is what I wanted to show you, how you can define the composables, how you can define your previews, define custom configuration for previews, and how you basically propagate the actions. And now let me get back to my presentation. So yeah, since we did the showcase, it's time to
some reactions here. I will also add it.
Sorry.
Go. Yes, so thank you so much once again.
Yeah. Let me just cover the key takeaways. If there are no,
and then we can go also into the questions, because I believe,
of course. If there are no questions up until now, or if there are questions for the project, I can reply them immediately. Sorry, I don't see the chat. So
I don't see any questions right now, but to all the people, just make sure that the 2 says to everyone, and then we can see it. But I think you can first cover the key takeaways, and then we can see if there are some questions.
Sure. Yeah, so as you can see, the key takeaways are basically that you should definitely start with the incremental migration. As I read so far, and from my personal experience, that's the best approach. And yeah, be sure to start from the small independent components, probably the ones which are less used. So don't start from the core functionality, not to block your colleagues. And yeah, the rule of thumb is to always write new features in Compose, just not to create legacy at the moment you are writing the code, because yeah, as you see the last point, the sooner you start, the easier your maintenance will be in the long run, because the Compose layout is where you want to end up. So yeah, I would suggest not to write XMLs anymore if that's possible, because again, as we already know, there are a lot of time constraints. So when you have to do something fast, you will probably choose the thing you are experienced in. So yeah, and also keep in mind to replace existing features one screen at a time, again, not to introduce confusion, and you will be more skillful along the way. So the more you practice writing composable functions, you will be better. Trust me, my first composables didn't look like the ones I showed you today. And yeah, that's basically all. These are the resources I used. So example projects are from my GitHub account. The first one is used to create the screenshots I used in the presentation. And on the second one, we worked. So this is the showcase project. And below that, you can see some useful links to read about.
I will.
Again, thank you for the listening. Now it's time for the questions.
Thank you. We have one question in the chat, so you can take a look right now. And I just wanted to add to the links. So I will send to everyone an email after this meeting, and you will, as soon as the video is on YouTube, I'll send you the link to the YouTube video, and also I'll include all the links from this presentation, so you will have that as well. So Stevan, we have one question.
Yeah, I see it from Milos, so I'll read it out loud. So in situations where we migrating most likely from multi-activity fragment view project to eventually full compose project, what would be good approach architecturally? Should we start removing all fragments from our project into one single godlike activity? What's good practice here, if it exists at all? Well, yeah, this is, first of all, thank you for the question. It's a great one. I mean, that's the first thing you face when you decide to actually migrate. And we had it as well. So the project we are currently working on is quite complex, and it's pretty mature. So as you can imagine, it has a lot of screens. So what we did here is, as I mentioned, so we did incremental migration. So basically, there is no concept of fragment in Compose. So as we mentioned, that there is also no concept of activity. So everything is composable. So in ideal world, you would want to have only one activity where you will set content, and in this content you will set you will have your main composable, and from that composable you will basically create like a tree of composables, the same way you do now with your view-based system and your controllers, which are basically activities and fragments. So should we remove all fragments? Not right away. I would again suggest to do it on like some simpler ones for the beginning. But again, you want to end up in a state where you don't have activities and fragments, you have just composables. And it, as you saw now, basically all this could be achieved even without the fragment. Fragment here is just a wrapper, but you can also do everything without this fragment. You can just set content in some activity higher in the hierarchy and use your view model and composable. Basically, your view model will provide the UI state for your composable. In this particular example, we had only one property, which is language, so we didn't need more complex structure than actually that property. But if you have more properties, you will define UI state, and then you will just propagate that UI state. Here also on this project, I use live data because that was popular at the time I was writing this project, like 3 years ago. But nowadays we already migrated to flows, and I can say that it's much easier to work with flows because the migration is better. I mean, the interoperability between flows and composables is better, in my opinion, than with the live data. So it's even easier to use flows. I'm not sure if I answered the question.
I think he gave a thumbs up, so I think that's a good one. But please, Milos, add anything if you would like to ask something else. But a great question and also great answer, Stevan. So
Thank you.
Yes, I can see reactions, so that was a good answer. Georgia has another one.
Okay, I'll read it again. So migration recycler view, where we have a nested list grid in the same scroll list. How do we solve it using Compose? What is good practice? Okay, so we have, let me read it just again. So recycler view with a nested list. Yeah, I would say so. It's quite easy. I didn't show it right now. Didn't cover that part, but it's quite easy actually to write the list in Compose in comparison with the view-based system, as we know that we have to write adapters for our recycler views. But yeah, I would say just nest two lists inside of the Compose, and that should be almost, I mean, that should be the same as nesting recycler views, because yeah, I guess that would be solution in the view-based system as well. We actually had something similar. So, I mean, it's not the same, the scrolling direction is not the same, but we had the list in which we had one element, which is actually the horizontal pager, which is also scrollable. And yeah, that ended up quite good. Unfortunately, the horizontal pager is not yet provided directly from Compose library, so we had to use the one provided by Accompanist. So as I mentioned, there is a Accompanist repository which provides basically all the UI, I mean, most of the UI components which are not yet provided directly by Compose Toolkit. So I would say, yeah, use direct approach, use two lists. I mean, I'm not sure, you didn't state if the scrolling direction would be the same here or not. I can say for the use case we had that it works properly. For the same scroll direction, that's a good question, but again, is that a good design? Then yeah, then we have that question. I'm not sure for that use case with the same scrolling direction I didn't use, but again, I would then question the design. Again, I hope I answered the question. Feel free to write or to
Thumbs up.
say anything. Yeah.
He gave a thumbs up, I think. I think he liked the answer, so thank you so much. Okay, it could be tricky, true.
True.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question? Once again, the conversation doesn't end here, so definitely if something pops up afterwards as well, please feel free to write us and I will connect you to Stevan, and then you can start the conversation once again. But I would say we can wait just to see if there's going to be another question.
Yeah, until we're waiting, I wanted to thank you for the questions, and thank you for listening.
Yes, you were seeing a lot of hearts, Stevan, also throughout the presentation. I know you couldn't follow, but I just wanted to say there were a lot of hearts, a lot of clapping, and also from my side, and the my bro from Nenad, but that's also a personal thing. But I definitely wanted to say thank you to you for the amazing presentation, for taking the time, to do this knowledge transfer. It's very important for us. And also thank you to everyone who was listening, and also to everyone who asked some questions. I think it was a very interesting one, and having a conversation is always nice during the webinar. So once again, Stevan, thank you so much. I have a little something for you if you stay 2 more minutes in the office with me. The sun went down, so the day is coming to an end. So once again, thank you, everyone. I just wanted to check one more time if we have any additional questions or remarks or hearts that wants to be sent off for Stevan. A minute. There are more hearts. Thank you very much. That's what I wanted. But yes, as for now, I think we can end the webinar here on a very nice note. So once again, Stevan, thank you so much for participating. Thank you to everyone here. This recording will be on YouTube. I will notify you via email. And then if you have any regarding any remarks, any additional question, you can always write us. But as for now, thank you so much, and please tune in to the next webinar.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you, Greg. Okay, bye-bye, guys. I need to end the recording.